Today, I'm going to be showing you how I set up my Samsung devices, from the Widget app to the icon packs, and even where I find my wallpapers. This has been a pretty heavily requested video on the channel, so I figured it was time to come around and film it because I get so many questions from all of you asking, where'd you get that wallpaper? Where'd you get that widget? And it's really hard to keep up with, so I'm trying to help you all out here. So first things first, let's go ahead and start off with some of the little things. Immediately, what I like to do is hop into settings when I get a brand new Samsung device, and I actually like to go ahead and change the navigation style from the buttons at the bottom to using swipe gestures, because in my opinion, it is just a much better way to navigate the device and makes way more sense. Ever since the iPhone X, which is the phone that introduced me to navigation using swipe commands, I haven't been able to go back, and I feel like, in my opinion, again, it is just one of the better ways to actually use and navigate the phone. So to enable that, you just gotta type in navigation, hit navigation bar, go down to navigation bar and press on it, and then go from buttons to swipe gestures. Buttons at the bottom here take up some real estate and they're always enabled, which is kind of annoying because you're losing out on some much needed screen. And if you go ahead and enable swipe gestures, you get all of that real estate back. You can actually take that a step further by disabling the gesture hint, which is this little bar at the bottom. You don't actually need that, it just tells you where you should be placing your finger to swipe, and personally, I just think there isn't really a point to having it enabled, especially because when you're in full screen applications, you do get that screen real estate back, and it, in my opinion, makes a lot more sense to just have it gone. Another thing that I like to do since this feature has been added is enable light performance mode. And what light mode does is essentially throttle the device just a tad by not allowing it to kind of overclock when it's not necessarily needed, like when you're just kind of doing some web browsing and stuff like that. This does actually help save on your battery life, and most importantly, does play a pretty crucial part in making sure the phone's longevity lasts you a little bit longer. You won't notice any changes in your day-to-day, I can promise you that. And when it comes to doing anything like playing games, it actually just, it completely disables itself to begin with. So when you're playing a game or doing anything intensive that requires that extra performance, it doesn't matter because it will automatically turn itself off. But when you don't need that extra juice, your phone is just kind of in a little more conservative state, helping you save that battery life. And honestly, ever since that it's been introduced, this is something that I've just used on all my Samsung devices, and I found that it actually does help when it comes to battery life, and it helps me squeeze out some extra juice throughout the day. So to do that, all I have to do is go into the search bar once again, type in performance, hit on performance profile, and change the performance mode from standard to light. And like it says here, prioritize battery life and cooling efficiency over processing speed. This is, in my opinion, a must to do and something that I do on every device that I set up, like I said, ever since it's been introduced. Before we get into the next one though, I just really want to say thank you so much for the support that you've been giving me on this channel, and if you can go ahead and leave a like and subscribe, it'll mean the absolute world to me. We're so close to hitting 25,000 subscribers, which is not a milestone that I thought that I would hit, nor did I think that I would hit it this soon, so thank you. Anyways, when it comes to the Fold 5, this is a large display, and I typically use it a lot at nighttime, especially when unfolded. One thing that's helped me make sure that I'm not making my eyes bleed before bed though, is actually setting an eye comfort shield schedule. And this is something that I would highly recommend that you do because it just changes the way that I use my device at night and does make sure that I'm not just getting excessive blue light when I'm getting ready before bed. What this essentially does is just make the display a tad warmer, so those harsh whites aren't going to be stimulating your brain super late into the nighttime. So to enable this, go back into settings once again, go all the way down to display, scroll down, press on eye comfort shield, and then turn it on. Now, normally it's set to adaptive where the phone will automatically decide when is a good time to enable it, but I actually have it set to custom, and I've set a schedule from 9:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. the next day, and I've kind of lowered the color temperature a little bit so it doesn't affect too much of the content that I'm looking at, but it actually does really help, and I have noticed a difference in my sleep since enabling this. And when I get a new phone from Samsung, this is definitely going to be the first thing that I set up. This is just something that works for me though, and isn't something that you have to go out of your way to do, but I can assure you that taking these extra precautions to help protect your eyes and make sure that you're getting a better rest at night, especially if you do use your phone a lot, is something that you should be doing, just because it can be very harsh and stimulating on your brain and on your eyes, and it's not necessarily the most healthy thing for you. Now, when it comes to the home screen, I don't make too many changes. I like to keep it as minimal as possible. However, there are a few things that I like to play around with, so I'll let you all know what's up. Firstly, if I press and hold on the home screen of the Z Fold 5 and tap Settings, I can change my home screen grid to 6x5, my app screen to 4x6, and my folders to 3x4. What this does is makes it so that I have quite a lot of applications available to me on the home screen, despite me actually keeping everything at the bottom, almost like a taskbar, and allowing me to have much more bold apps on the app screen and folders that are just viewable from the home screen, so I know which apps I've placed where. This is, of course, once again, personal preference, but this is how I've laid it out, and I get a lot of comments about this, so I'm just showing you a guide as to how I personally set up my phone. For example though, in the left folder, I have all of my lifestyle applications like everyday banking, PayPal, YouTube Studio, Amazon, etc. And on the right, I have things that I use more frequently, which I call my essentials, which include things like Instagram, WhatsApp, Spotify, Twitter, and so on. Laying it out like this just allows me to know exactly where my applications that I need are on a day-to-day basis. It's specifically for things like Twitter and Outlook, which I use almost every day, 24/7 throughout the day. In the middle of those two though, I have the phone app, Google Messages, and Chrome, since I would say that these are the three most used apps on this device. Above those, however, I do keep it very simple, and we will talk about all of the other widgets that I have in a second, but if I do need to do a quick search for something, I do keep the Google app right there front and center, so I don't need to jump into an entire browser when I just need to find an answer in a pinch. Now, when it comes to this large date widget that I have, and by the way, this is probably the thing that I get asked most about on the channel, this is actually just an application called KWGT Widget, and I love it because of how bold and in your face it is. KWGT actually has a lot of other cool widgets included inside the app. If you want to purchase some plugins, you can, and there's a paid version of the app as well, which gives you an even bigger variety of pre-installed widgets. I would highly recommend this app just because it has some very clean and minimal widgets that I personally really like and think just make a statement on the home screen without kind of making it super cluttered. It's also very visible and readable and gives you just the information that you need immediately at a glance. My next page isn't really too special, but I do have a Google Tasks widget for reminders and things that I need to get done, a share calendar with my wife so I can understand her busy schedule if I'm ever planning things, a YouTube widget, and a Spotify widget. So nothing too special like I said, but these are definitely things that I use every day, and it's nice to be able to view them on such a large display and have them just readily available. Another thing that I just get absolutely bombarded about in the comments though is what icon packs I use. And the one that I frequent the absolute most is this one right here called Borealis. And this icon pack at the time is about $2 US. So it's not too bad for what it does to the device. And I think that this, in my opinion, is probably my favorite looking icon pack just because of how clean and minimal it is. I think for $2, it adds a lot of character to the phone and eliminates some of those, in my opinion, uglier stock Samsung icons that you can't really go wrong with. To enable an icon pack though, all you need to do is make sure that you've downloaded Theme Park from the Galaxy Store. And then once you're inside of Theme Park, you can actually just go ahead and make a new theme using that icon. So if I wanted to hit Create New, I would click Next. I would go to my icons over here, select the icon pack, and I would choose between one of the ones that I have downloaded. So I would press Borealis, wait for it to load just a little bit, and then once it's loaded, I just go down and I do change the size. And the reason I do change the size of the icon pack is because I do have folders on the home screen, and if you don't change the size of the icons, you will see an outline of the folders if you set them to be completely transparent. So that's how I get that kind of nice, easy, clean looking folder without having an outline or any sort of background. So yeah, basically once you do that inside of Theme Park, you would just back out and you would download it, and then you would save it to a name, and in the home screen of Theme Park, you would just apply whatever icon pack you want to use. Then once it's all saved, you just have a really nice home screen with beautiful icons. And I think that this setup is definitely going to last me a long time because I'm super pleased with how it looks. Especially in thumbnails. This thing in thumbnails looks absolutely mint, and I think that's a lot of the reason as to why I do get comments about it, because people see just how nice and minimal it is. And lastly, for my wallpapers, I actually just use a website called Unsplash. Now, unfortunately, Unsplash doesn't have an Android application, but they do have one on iOS. However, using Chrome or Samsung Internet or whatever browser just works completely fine. This is where I find all of my woodsy themed wallpapers, some of the more artistic ones, and some of the simple ones that I'm currently using. At the top here, you can actually pick between wallpapers, 3D renders, nature, and all of these things just look absolutely incredible. Speaking of incredible, look at that one. Literally every single wallpaper that I've used since the beginning of time on this YouTube channel has been from Unsplash or this app called Backdrops. I will link both the app for Backdrops and the website for Unsplash for those who are curious and do want to get some really nice looking wallpapers on your device. And of course, yet again, when it comes to the cover screen, I basically keep almost the exact same setup, which is, like I said, just very simple and very easy for me to use, except for Chrome being in my taskbar. Same Google widget, and rather than a widget from KWGT, I actually just use the stock weather widget because it does give me a very nice readable 5-day forecast. And I don't have any other home screens on my cover display. I've even disabled the Google Discover on both the cover screen and the inner display, just because I don't find them to be targeting very relevant information to me on a day-to-day basis. But other than that, that's pretty much it. It's very clean, very simple, and very accessible for me, and I think that the few tweaks that I've made just give me the best experience that I can have for me personally on this device. This is what I like about Android though. I feel like I've taken a very chill approach to customization on the Fold 5, but being able to do so and pick and choose very specific things to be different is very nice, and I really appreciate Samsung's One UI experience. Anyways, that's been it. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, leave a like down below, subscribe for more content, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.